Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Run It Back, episode number 90. I like that number. It's a nice big number. We're getting there. Thank you for listening or watching, joining in. Appreciate the premise of the show, of course, remains the same. We take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we talk about preparation for the game, what went into our scout, matchups, what's important in the information that we're delivering, in-game adjustments, all that niche stuff that coaches love and what makes us better ultimately at the end of the day. And today is no different. So we're looking at a game from December 7th, 2021. It's Kentucky Big Blue versus the Southern Jaguars. And I am very, very fortunate today to have a coach from Southern, a friend of mine, somebody that I've had the good fortune of learning from almost 2 years now, Coach Ryan Price joining us. Coach Price, if you give me a second, I'm going to try to give you a nice warm welcome to the show. Hopefully I get all this correct. You played 2 years at McNeese, played 1 year, played at Henderson State as well. You coached 2 years at Gannon, where you guys went 56-9 over a 2 year period, which is an incredible record. You spent 2 years at Arkansas Fort Smith. You were one season at Prairie View, and then currently you are in your fourth consecutive season at Southern, but your eighth overall season as you spent 1 year in the middle as the head coach at the Church Academy. Coach Price, I am happy and thrilled to have you on. There's not enough adjectives. Thank you for taking your time. Really appreciate you being here. Welcome to Run It Back.
And I appreciate it. Thank you, Menelik. I'm glad, man. It's an honor.
The honor is all mine. So for anybody who may not know, who might be from a different part of the world or living under a rock, give us a little bit of background about Division I basketball, and specifically Southern. What conference you're in, what part of the year you're in, what this game means or doesn't mean. Just sort of give me an idea of where we are and what this means to you here.
Well, we're in Baton Rouge University. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Southern University, Southwest Athletic Conference, which is full of historically Black colleges and universities. So the league ranges all the way from as far south as Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach, Florida, which is one of the newer members, them in Florida A&M. All the way as far north and west as Arkansas with Pine Bluff and Arkansas Pine Bluff. And then to the west, you got Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M. So our league has been full of some teams that have done really well. Probably the last few years has probably been Texas Southern, Prairie View. And I'll even throw in us because we were able to have a certain period of time where we won 3 championships in a 5-year span. So our league is a competitive league. Obviously, as many people know, our school, as well as others in our league, have to fill our non-conference up with a lot of buy games where we have to go out and get money and raise money for the athletic department. So from the months of November and December, we're literally on the road all the time. So right. There's not a lot of time. You're fortunate enough ever so often to have home games. I think this year we had 3 home games in the span of the non-conference period. And that's an incredible feat. But we were able to have 3 home games in non-conference. But our program, we're led by Sean Woods, who it's a little bit of a story with that because we're playing the University of Kentucky, but he is one of the former all-time greats at the University of Kentucky. Matter of fact, actually still is a record holder for assist average. Nice. In a career at Kentucky. So he's one of the unforgettables and played in probably the greatest college basketball game of all time, 1992 against Duke. And he actually hit the shot. The trivia with him is he actually hit the shot that gave Kentucky the lead before they played, before Christian Laettner made his shot for Duke.
Yep.
So his jersey's retired at the University of Kentucky. So it's a blessing to work under him. And I've learned a lot of different things working for him, especially on the offensive end. And, you know, a lot of stuff is predicated off of dribble drive is what we do a lot of things off of. So a lot of times our guys that have to have the ability on the perimeter, have to have the ability to really beat you and attack you going downhill. So that's a little bit about us. Our team is this year or this season has been comprised mostly of guys out of the portal. And I'll be honest with you, I think we've done a great job with.
You're kicking ass. I can say it. I can say it. You're kicking ass out there for sure.
We've done a good job with the guys that we got out of the portal. The main thing for us was just trying to get guys that know how to play, and come from winning pedigrees. So every kid that we got this past season out of the portal was part of last season with COVID, was part of a regular season championship team.
Right.
A regular season championship team. And the one kid that we got, their team didn't win their regular season conference, but they made it to the Final Four of the NIT. And actually was, I think, maybe one of the first four out to get into the big dance last year. So our team is predicated on that. But I think we've done just as good of a job as anybody probably in our league with identifying good high school talent, which has been a blessing and a curse because we've gotten a couple kids that have developed as time went on. Last year, our freshman was freshman of the year in the league. And then this past season, or a couple years ago, we had another kid, but he left and went in the portal. And actually, he's at another program right now that's in the top 25 in the country. And he's starting playing 27, 28 minutes a game for that team. So, which is Murray State. But we've been fortunate. I think we do a good job with that. So our team is based a lot on different guys, different people that come from different programs. Of course, the portal is important, but just as equally, we really try to dig deep and try to find really good high school players as well.
Love it. So I'm going to jump in. You mentioned that, you know, in preseason, obviously you got to fill your schedule with some bye games. You got to be on the road. There's clearly time constraints. Let's talk a little bit about the preparation. So if I'm not mistaken, I had you guys playing this game on December 7th. Mm-hmm. You only had a 3-day break before because you had played Akron before. Talk to me about how your team breaks up scouts, when you start your scouts. You know, what's the process at Southern for the coaching staff?
Well, we normally get going like as soon as that last game happened, we normally start right then and there.
Right.
As far as making sure whoever's in charge of the scout gives the scout to Coach Woods. So, like for us, this was a little different this time around, and I was hyped because it was my scout, Kentucky. I actually gave Coach Woods the scout in pregame meal for the Kentucky game, just because it was Kentucky. I knew how important it was to him, how special it was to him. So like we were in pregame meal for Akron, and like I had my scout for him sitting there right in my hand. And after we finished eating pregame meal, I gave it to him. I said, Coach, do you want to get me to give it to you after the game or now? Because I got it right here. It's ready to go. And it's always ready. But I was already just jacked up for that game. So we normally start that way. So we played Kentucky this year. It was the inaugural start to a series that they're starting that Coach Calipari in the Kentucky athletic department started, called the Unity Series.
Right.
So a lot of things we had to do a lot of things that, or we did a lot of things. I don't want to say we had to, but we did a lot of things prior to our game. And as far as just interaction, community service type stuff. So like when we left Akron on Sunday morning, we came right into Cincinnati and went to the Underground Railroad Museum in downtown Cincinnati.
Nice.
So it was a good experience. And actually the Bengals were playing, and the Bengals stadium was actually next door. So the Bengals were playing. So we kind of, we obviously didn't get to go into the game, but we got to at least kind of sightsee and kind of see like how the NFL pro football game day atmosphere was like, because we were right next door. So
right.
We went to that. Then we went to the Underground Railroad Museum for about 2 hours. At that point, after that, which was an amazing experience in itself for us and for our team.
I'm actually in Cincinnati this weekend, and I'm going to check it out as well. So.
It's a great experience. You definitely have to do it, Menelik. So sure. We went to it. Then we went to as soon as that they fed us. Which when you play those caliber teams and the whole deal like that, like it wasn't they fed us enough to fill us up. So we made the drive from Cincinnati to Lexington, which was about an hour drive. At that point, we just kind of got off our feet, kind of rest, prepared, laid down, decided we were just going to start preparation for the game on Monday. So Sunday was considered like a travel day for us. Really, right. We didn't really do anything. So Monday morning is when we got into it a little bit, and we watched film and watched what they do, and then we had practice over there. Came back, did our team deal, and actually we had some other things that we had to attend to. We actually went to the Cows radio show. They fed us good there. Nice. But they also did some learning stuff with our guys. They taught our guys a lot about the director of player development. Spent about an hour talking to our guys about NIL and that good stuff. And actually they've made sure to stay in constant contact with our guys since then.
Amazing.
So we've definitely we definitely prepared a lot for that game on Monday.
So
we had to find a little wiggle time, we had to find a lot of wiggle time before that. So, or a little wiggle time between all the activities that they had going for us and going for us. So how we normally do things is like Monday, we had practice. We spent Monday really going over their sets, and that's what we do the day before.
Right.
We go over their sets. So we spent Monday's practice preparing and going over their sets. And then on the day of the game at shoot around, we go over, underneath out of bounds, side OBs, that good stuff. If it's something that they do, maybe as far as pressing, things of that nature, we'll go over that. Or if they zone a little bit, we'll go over it. Just to kind of review the day of the game. But the day before, we normally go over their sets and prepare.
And will that be a walkthrough, or will you guys actually compete in it?
I guess I would call it probably in between.
Okay.
Like we don't go 100 miles per hour, but we don't just walk, literally walk through it. So it probably about 3/4 speed. Now there are days like once we get in a conference, we may, like, I'll give you an example tomorrow, which I know this is being recorded for later on down the road, 3 days before our game, I'll be able to take our second, third group, bring them in a little bit earlier before practice and go over their stuff, and we'll tie it into practice. That kind of thing. So, but the day before we'll just walk through it just so guys know what we're doing and that good stuff.
Let's talk about the scout itself a little bit. So like, are you doing a paper copy? Is it video as well? what goes on the paper, what goes into the video, how long are the videos? Do you guys, you mentioned you guys are breaking the scouts down. Do you take everything on yourself, present it to coach first, and then give it to the players? What's involved with everything?
So we do a paper scout, and we do use Fast Scout. Shout
Right.
out to Menelik, because there's been a couple of times that I've had to call Menelik for some guidance on some stuff with Fast Scout. But we do a lot of things through Paper Scout.
Right.
And I normally will present, like I said, to coach right after after the previous game that we had. So we generally don't give it to our guys until the day before.
Okay.
And that's when we start to watch film with the guys on the
Right.
team. So what we normally do is, we do a clip tape. I'm kind of considered like the long winder on our staff as far as clip tapes. But I just want to make sure that we got everything that we need in the clip tape. So generally my clip tape is probably 26 minutes long.
Wow. You
I
are
try
a lot.
not to,
You are thorough for sure.
and I trim the clips. So just imagine if I didn't trim my clips.
Right.
But I always want guys to see different looks at stuff. I want them to look at, when we do personnel, I normally try to have like 4 or 5 clips for guys. If it's a top tier guy for them, I'll probably add on maybe a couple more clips. So if, for example, with Kentucky, with Tashigwe and Washington, I made sure they had 6 or 7 clips on there for personnel. Sets, right. I normally try to have about 4 or 5 clips for each set that they may run. So that's what I normally do. The day before, we normally watch 2 halves of the team that we play. So with Kentucky, we watched 2 halves. So if I remember, in that game, we watched Ohio in the first half, because Ohio, up to that point, was probably the most competitive team that they had faced as far as being competitive with Kentucky. We watched the first half against them.
Right.
And then we watched a half where they kind of dominated a team, which was Central Michigan. That was one team. So we just watched the half of Central Michigan, first half against Central Michigan. I think they got up on Central Michigan like 24-2. And so we wanted our guys to see what happens when you come in sleepwalking and they play really well, and we wanted to watch what happens when you sit there and you give the fight back to them, which is what Ohio did.
Right.
And I think Ohio, it was like maybe a 6-point game, 5-point game in the first half or at halftime. But we knew coming in before we played them that we really had to come in there and compete from the jump street, because that was their kind of their niches. If they can get you up early, then they're just gonna put their foot down on you.
Right. So that delivery process, you mentioned you deliver to your coach, and then you've got all your clips, all your edit put together, and your guys are sitting in. Will you give them that whole 26-minute video at one go, or will you break it into little spurts for them? And do you also send it to them so that they can review on their own after they've watched it?
So I don't send over any videos to them. The one thing I can say, like with our group this season, is that they get together like on their own as a team and watch games.
Right.
Like I'll share my login information or something like that with a couple of guys. But like these guys are pretty dialed in and tuned in, and they'll normally come together and watch. So early in the week, those guys already kind of know what's going on, which I think that's a good thing that we have a group like that. But as far as watching the clip tape itself, we normally do it in one sitting. Like I said, we'll have the time period where we watch the 2 halves of that team, like we did against Kentucky. and then we'll turn around probably the morning of the game and watch a preparation, the scouting clip tape of them that morning.
Love it. Give me an example of what you're putting on the paper. So, like, if you're going to play against Menelik Fernandez and he's a dominant player, what is going on the paper for your guys? Like, is it ways to beat me or things that I excel at, a combination? How are you breaking that down for your guys?
So what I normally put in there is I normally put in, what they do really well at. So I normally have it like in bullet points. I give bullet points on my scout. So I'll have, if it's a player, I'll have 4 or 5 different things on them that they do really well. If a guy is a driver going hard right, okay, I got that driver going hard right. If he's a guy that's a capable shooter, not necessarily a great shooter, but can, if he's open, he can knock down a shot. I put that in the clip tape. I'm sorry, not in the clip tape, but in the scout. Then at the bottom, I'll kind of have something where we talk about the things that we have to do or their weaknesses so that we know. So if a guy is a shooter, I say close out with high hands. All right. No open looks. Close out with high hands, contest all shots, no open looks. If he's a guy that I know can be sped up and we can pressure, I'll put turnover prone, pressure him. All right. If he's a guy that's all right, hey, sit on right, force left. What we do is we switch our ball screens. So 1 through 5.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what I'll say, if it's a guy that I know is good going downhill, make sure that we switch up. Right. So that we know when we switch, we don't switch waiting for him to meet up to come to us, that we're meeting him right there off of that ball screen. So that's one of the things that we do right there. As far as like a scout, I'll normally have bullet points of what they do really well, and then at the bottom, it'll probably be maybe like a paragraph long, where I write down like their weaknesses and that good stuff.
So it's a good segue that you're mentioning the switching 1 through 5, because a question that I ask often and I'm curious about a lot of the time is like, your guys, obviously, and I think as the season goes along, guys start to recognize where they are rotationally. Do you give the same information to all of your players, or do you maybe give a little extra, like, hey man, you're guarding this player today, you need to know this, this, and this? Or do all the guys get the same stuff because you're switching and the expectation is everybody should be able to guard everybody type deal?
Yeah. So all our guys are expected to know about everybody just because of what I talked about, 1 through 5.
Right.
So you have to know, like, if you're a 4-man, like an example, our 4-man Terrell Williams, 6'6" guy, he's expected to know what the point guard does, what Wheeler, in the instance of the game we're going to watch, what Wheeler does really well. So he had to know that, Wheeler is amazing going downhill, going to left. Like he's gonna drive it super hard, going hard left, every single time he can. Not a great shooter, so you can close out short with him. So we make sure that our guys do that, and we quiz our guys actually, like before we even go over sets. When we get on the floor, we'll do a quick quiz before we go over the sets. So I may ask our 5-man Damian Sears, tell me a little bit about what Ty Washington does.
Right.
To kind of throw guys off guard so that they'll know what they're doing. So yeah, it's expected, like with what we do defensively, for guys to know, okay, if you're a 5-man, don't just be concerned about what that 5-man does. You have to know as well, what does the point guard or the wings or the 4-man does as well.
So with the quizzing, how do you hold your guys accountable? Like if they're not getting questions right, or if it's clear they haven't spent the time reviewing what you've sent them, how do you hold guys accountable, and how do you bring them up to speed in the shortened amount of time that you have, especially if they're more of your key guys?
So I would say this: our guys have been really good of knowing what they do. So we've never had an issue where a guy's like, I don't know what that guy does.
And
Our
this is why you're winning.
Yeah. So our
really
guys have
simple,
been good.
right?
Yeah, our guys have been good with it. You know, if there might be something where a guy, it might be a bullet point while we're going over it that they don't know it, then I'll just say like, hey, just remember he's a guy that likes to crash the offensive glass really hard, you know, something like that. I may just give them a little quick bullet point that they may not have added.
Right.
I'm not expecting them to sit there and give the whole paper scout when they talk. We just say, hey, give us a couple of things. Give us 2 little key points about him, about what this guy does well. You know, if it's a guy in a post and he's a guy that's exceptional, going over his left shoulder,
Right.
make sure you bring that up. You talk about that as well.
Right.
So those are just little things that we do. We don't really have to worry about too much accountability as far as like a guy not remembering something when they're asked. They're normally pretty good at knowing that stuff.
So let's talk about like audibles, so to speak. So like just as a specific instance, you mentioned you switch 1 through 5. Do you guys put in other coverage solutions as well? And if this is not a good example, when in a game are you guys moving away from what the game plan was, like if it doesn't appear to be working, versus staying with it for a period of time, like that was an anomaly, he doesn't typically make that shot, we're okay with it? What's sort of like that fine line for you as to like, we're on point with this, that was some really good execution, versus we might need to switch that coverage? What happens in your mind to make those differences?
Well, a lot of times what happens when we have to make that decision, we normally have been burned a couple times before we get to it, you know. So we'll normally say something in a timeout. We normally, huddle up as a staff before we go in, and coach talks to his guys. So, he's very receptive of hearing what his assistants have to say. And he really wants you to have a voice and an opinion. So, right. It comes a time, a lot of times it's timeouts, just like anything. An adjustment period has to be the timeouts or at halftime.
Right.
Of like knowing, hey, this isn't working, what we look to do. So I'll give you an example. We have a backup point guard that's like 5'9", and that's just being generous. Right. Has a heart of steel. I mean, he's tough as nails, but it's also reality. If we get caught in a ball screen situation, and he's against Kentucky, he gets caught having a guard Tshiebwe and he's rolling to the basket. Well, we've got to have guys right there on that weak side, on the backside at the midline, and that's our terminology, midline. Right there, ready to be there. So when we play Kentucky, our preparation was, if they throw it over the top, because we face a lot, we front the post a lot of times. Right. They throw it over the top, then the guys on the back side either got to be ready to tip it, or they got to be ready to, if he catches it, just be right there on the catch and wall up. So
we used to say his head or the ball. So when we were in front and lob, is like when we're fronting on one side and then like taking away the lob over top, I used to say, like, if he throws that over top, bring me his head or the ball, one of the two. Like, go in there and get it for sure.
Yep, and that's pretty much the same thing for us. So we got to end up with the basketball, or we're gonna be right there on you. So right. So that's kind of where we generally are. So yeah, to go back what you were asking, like a lot of times when we've got to make we got to make changes on the fly. A lot of times it's going to just have to happen, during that timeout or at halftime.
So would it be fair to say that, like, if there was a spectrum of, like, at one end, it's we are going to do what we do and do it really well, and at the other end, we're going to really adjust to, like, everything the other team does and try to have solutions for everything they do, you would probably lean closer to the we do what we do and we're going to do it well type deal?
Yeah. And I mean, obviously a lot of things differ from, when you play certain teams, how they do things, as well.
Right.
Kentucky is not great, or was not great at that time, guarding ball screens. I'm not sure how they are now, but I know it early on in the season, that was like one of their Achilles heels. So we knew going into that game, hey, let's spread the floor out. Let's put these guys in ball screen situations,
Right.
And just go at them. And that was one of our main things. And on the defensive side, it's kind of what you said. We do what we do. We're gonna stick to our script. We're gonna do it, prepare how we normally prepare when we play guys, and we're gonna just try to beat them that way.
So going from sort of the general process to a little bit more specific, what were some of the things that you really identified that you thought would bring you the W in this game? And then talk to me a little bit about, like, things like pace of play or how many to the glass, those kinds of, like, little intricate details. Did you adjust any of them, or did you sort of stick to what your staples were, and what are your staples?
So we knew the keys in this game for us to have a shot at it was, number one, we had to keep them off the glass.
Right.
Obviously, they have the best rebounder in college basketball this season, so we had to. And it's just not him; they have other guys as well that go to the glass incredibly hard, and so we knew that we had to keep those guys off the offensive glass. So, like, our staple with that situation was, okay, you got 5 guys and you gotta hit them. If you get caught in a situation where we do switch and a shot goes up and you're a little small guard, you just gotta put everything you can to just drive to Sheway out of the paint and keep him away from getting offensive rebounds.
Right.
One of the other things was, in prior games, he had a couple of games earlier before we played him, he got into foul trouble early because he likes to go and block shots. So we told our guys to attack him and go at him and try to get him in foul trouble. And we were able to do that. I think he went to the bench probably middle of the first half, a little bit under the 10-minute mark in that ball game.
Yeah.
So I think we did a good job of doing that and just trying to get him where we could focus on getting him out of the game. Obviously, they have a lot of other really good players, but we knew if we could get him out of the game, that could kind of take some of the steam of what they like to do as far as rebounding the basketball. And then the other thing was, it was two more things, getting back in transition, because they love to utilize getting out in transition and then running. All right. And then attacking them in ball screen situations. So that was one of the main things, was make sure we attack those guys in ball screen situations, because their bigs weren't very good at guarding ball screens.
So, Coach, let me ask you to elaborate on one of those points, just because as a coach, I'm struggling it with my team currently, and I think it's more of a motivation, desire thing than anything. What are some of the points you're giving your guys in terms of defensive transition and getting back? I mean, is it basically just an effort piece, or is there some technical stuff that you're giving your guys that maybe I might be missing out on? Like, talk to me about your defensive transition process a little bit.
Well, I will tell you this: we go over that every day in practice. Literally, when we go up and down, we go over. We do transition defense drills every day. And our number one rule is our point guards got to get all the way to the hole. So he's expected to get all the way. So when the shot goes up, it's not get back to half court. It's literally you get yourself all the way to the opposite basket, and then it's down to those other four guys to stop the basketball.
Right.
So a lot of times we try to find our 2, 3s, and 4s. And I can tell you, I don't think we have a big issue with transition defense, but that's our main deal. You know what I'm saying? And our guys have to sit there and they have to talk. And that's what we ask our guys to really do in a transition defense.
Right.
Make sure you communicate. If you got ball, you say, hey, I got ball, I'm stopping the basketball. And then after that, it's scramble mode. Once the 5-man gets back, then the point guard will fill itself up obviously out of the hole, and then we're able to play defense in that half court set. But we a lot of times we try to send that point guard all the way to the hole of the basket.
And in doing so, do you get concerned about any potential mismatches because he's all the way back to the basket and filling out from there? Or do you worry about matchups in transition, basically, is what I'm asking?
We don't. Yeah, no, we really honestly don't. I guess it goes back to what I said about, we switch everything. So ball screens, pin downs, that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. So for us, I mean, obviously you don't want to get caught in a situation where you got a 5'9", 5'10" guy guarding a 6'9" guy that's going full steam down the pipe of the basket.
Right.
But if our guys are running, then that shouldn't happen anyways. So, but it's never any kind of worry or any kind of concern of any kind of like mismatches or anything like that as far as transition defense.
I got 2 more and I'll move on to the video portion. The first one for me is what are you guys tracking on the bench as a coaching staff? And does it differ for you if it's your scout versus if it's not, what you're tracking, what you're paying attention
to? So the one thing that we universally track, we got one guy on our staff that tracks deflections. And it probably kind of stems from Coach Woods playing for Coach Pitino. He wants to have X amount of deflections a ball game. So we can get, 35, 40 deflections.
Right.
That's
Is
great.
that actually the number that's pretty close to what the goal would be, 35 to 40 in a game?
Yep. So that's why we teach a lot of things as far as like active hands and deflecting and back tipping from behind, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we get our number a lot of times. I'll be honest with you. We force 20 turnovers a game. I want to say maybe 21. I don't know what we are right now. Maybe I can look it up, or we can look it up before we go off the air. But I know we're in the top 3 in the country with turnovers forced a game. So
that's incredible.
So that's kind of our calling card, is forcing turnovers. I know as of like 2 weeks ago, I know we were like, I want to say maybe 2nd in the country in forced turnovers. So I know we can't be too far behind from that number, because the teams we've been playing for the most part since then have been getting 20 turnovers a game. So, but that's what we do. We talk about deflections. Then we have, obviously, if it's your scout, you just try to make sure, obviously, you kind of, you hear things, you kind of hear calls, that kind of thing. You try to chart that down. So, if I hear a set call, I'm going to make sure I chart that down. That's especially important once you get in conference play, not necessarily non-conference, but obviously if you hear something early, then maybe it can register for later on in a basketball game. So, we got one guy on our staff that tracks everything, because that's just what he does. He tracks everything that he sees wrong that we could do better defensively as well.
And so if it is your scout, are you watching a little bit more than tracking like how you would normally, or are you still tracking the same things that you would normally?
Probably tracking a little bit more. of knowing, obviously because it's your scout and you just want to be on point with things, but you just try to track everything down and know a little bit more. And obviously you got to be a little bit more vocal as far as tendencies and that kind of thing. So you got to let guys know what's coming, what a guy's getting ready to go do, and that kind of stuff.
And to what you were just saying, I have NCAA stats up here. I don't see how many turnovers you're causing, but you guys are third in the nation in steals, just under 11. So obviously,
I may look that up for you mentally, because I know they have that stat up.
yeah.
Um,
But if you're third in the nation in steals, I would assume that you're very close to the top in terms of turnovers caused, right? So
yep.
sure.
So yeah, that's kind of our calling card. So to answer you, the number that we shoot for, a lot of times we are able to get that just because we force the turnovers, and then there's other little things, obviously, when you just poke at a ball or something like that where you can get your hand on a basketball.
For sure. And then my last question from the question piece, unless coaches have anything that they want to ask, but do you do anything after the game that sort of reviews how accurate your scout was, or is it on to the next? Like, let's say if you don't come away with the W, are you doing anything like, okay, this was execution here, or putting together film for the guys as to what went wrong? What's sort of like your review process, if there is anything?
So we do post game reports, and actually we give it to coach. And when I say a report, we'll do a summary
Right.
of the game,
Right.
and then we'll give a summary of every guy that played in that game.
Okay.
And we'll look at the good and the bad for that kid. So even if a kid plays his butt off, like we're still gonna talk about what that kid could improve on or do better, And then if a kid didn't necessarily play bad or necessarily play good, we don't want to just harp on all the bad things. We'll harp on things that they could, hey, if you want to continue to play whatever, the amount of minutes that you're playing, you have to do this. You're capable of doing this.
Right.
So we try to make sure that they know, like, it's not just a roast session when you go in. So, and then we do a clip tape. We do, the general good defense, good offense, bad offense.
Right.
And we normally try to, between 10 to 12 clips of each one of those, just so that the guys can see. Now, if there's something that is like a pressing deal, like if a team got, let's just say 18 offensive, 19 offensive rebounds, we'll have a completely different category just for that, where we'll break down and show them every single time that team got an offensive rebound against us, so that our guys can see, the importance of it. So, we play, just give an example, Toledo or Kent State, and they have 19 offensive rebounds, then we're going to make sure that we break it down and we show those guys each one of those things. So, and before you go, I will say we are third in the country in turnovers force. I found a stat. I'll send it to you. It's Abilene Christian, Morgan State, and then us. So we force 19 and a half turnovers a game.
That's a lot of extra possessions. Good stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna get into the bit of the film. Like I said, I pulled 11 clips from it. I'll play each clip 2 or 3 times. Okay. So not everybody is watching. Some people listen in on Spotify, etc. afterwards. So I'll try my best to fumble through a description of what's happening. Third time, all yours. Just kind of tell me what you see, what you like, what you don't like, if you would do it again, if you would do something different, etc. Just kind of want to have a film session with Coach Price. Let me know if this play speed is good for you here.
Yep, it's good.
Awesome. So this is your first possession of the game. They had gone up 2-0. Basically, the ball's advanced up to the left side of the floor. Try a little dribble attack, get nothing, put it back up top. It's a swing to the offensive right side of the floor. We attack through the nail, come together off of 2. We end up getting a back cut off of it and sort of like a forced reverse that gets blocked. And then the ball ends up going out of bounds, goes the other way. So first play of the game, what were you guys looking to establish? How do you feel you executed? Give me the rundown of what you're looking for out of this here.
Okay, so to start right here, we kind of knew that Kentucky was going to pick us up man, full court, and just kind of turn you. But we also knew at the same time, like we could just tell our guys to just go back. Like, don't worry about it being a something where they may run and jump. They may occasionally run and jump, but it really wasn't a run and jump. So
right,
we just kind of told our guys to just go ahead and go, and the point guard could bring it. Our point guard play is pretty good, so we just kind of told our guys to go. So yeah, right there, we just told them to go ahead and go. Just keep pushing it, bring it.
I got kicked out of my own living room by my daughter here. Excuse me.
Hey, we're in the same boat. So
I hear you.
yeah. So
all right, so we get it over. We're offensive left side, and like I said, we get nothing out of the dribble, and we're trying to reverse and attack through the nail here, come together off of two. Give me some of the concepts of when a player comes together off of two. Who's looking to cut? Where are we looking on the floor? All that.
So right here, we're in our dribble drive, series right there. And right there, we generally tell, and we work on it every day when we do guards and bigs, pre-practice shooting, is that when you go back, if you can go back real quick, man, I'll kind of show you what we try to do, what we do. So right there, we normally try to tell our guys to just come right off of zero. So that guy raised, and he's supposed to come right off of him.
Right.
And which he did. And honestly, he had a good little deal right there. Now, that post right there should be ducking in. Once he sees him coming, he actually should be trying to either, if he comes to a jump stop, he should be ducking in. But we always try to teach our guys to keep going, turn that corner really hard.
Right.
If you go back again, I'm sorry, Menelik.
No, you good.
The guy at the top that's cutting across. All right. A lot of times we look for that pitch right there in a downhill series right there. Yep. So a lot of times that's one of the things we do kind of look for is a downhill series. And we thought that no team really has attacked them up to that point. So that's why we really try to go into our dribble drive series and really try to look and see what we can execute off of that.
Right. And then with the cut here, like, so there's an exchange on the help side where the big kind of lifts and the backdoor cut. Is it scripted, or is it really just kind of guys getting used to playing off of each other with the dribble drive there?
So the 5-man at that time, the big, we always call it midline, where the basket is.
Right.
Once he saw that 35 Lions was driving it, he should have been going opposite side. So we always tell our bigs to just stay opposite of the side the ball is coming from. So he kind of got in the way right there.
Right.
And then Lions, honestly, probably could have that probably messed up Lions continuing going to the basketball, because he literally came together with him. So
right.
Now, if Lions had came to a jump stop, then we would have asked him to duck in super hard. And so now Lions 35 with the basketball is kind of like in no man's land right there. And at that point, everybody's watching. The one guy, Sadler, number 5, cut. We weren't able to get a good look right there out of it.
It's an early under out of bounds. I'll play it through. You can have a look at it, but my questions and my notes are just basically defending their baseline out of bounds. I'm wondering if you have their set, if it's one of the ones you've walked through, how you feel you've done on it. So for anybody who's listening, I'll put it back here. Basically, it's an enter to the strong side post. There's a reverse pass, and then that strong side post just sets like a turnout or a pin down, whatever you want to call it, for the inbounder. And then they look for the post entry. They don't get it. They reverse it again turns into a DHO and like a punch pass that gets deflected and then eventually stolen. So talk to me about how you feel you played it, what you like, what you would do different, if anything, and if you had it, if they're running basically what you anticipated.
Yeah, so we anticipated that. That was like at that time one of the primary deals. It almost kind of comes off looking almost like it gives that inbound passer like a single double kind of look.
Right.
But it really isn't. He just comes off, like you said, like a pin down.
Right.
At that point, they would just play at that point. It wasn't. I don't think that duck in is like a design that they have out of that action. But I think
they
the
might have
G-Way
just thought this switch and thought it was beneficial for them, and they ended up being wrong.
Yeah. So what happened right there is our guy that was guarding the screener.
Yep.
Should have already came up. He was late. Luckily, Washington didn't raise up and shoot the basketball. But we always tell our guys to come together. Mm-hmm. And he should have actually been on that when he saw that switch was coming. Should have already been coming up there with Washington. He kind of sat on the screen a little bit, as you can see a little bit.
Yeah.
Right there. Yep. So he got there. Honestly, he's probably opened up a little too much with Washington, because we talked about Washington, especially going left, likes to shoot a pull-up jump shot.
Right.
So his legs probably should have been adjusted a little bit. His hips should have been adjusted a little bit. Yep. Where he wasn't giving him as much baseline. You can go ahead because I'm gonna show you something else. All right, so right here, Sears, which is our post player, got caught kind of ball watching, and he was flat. We don't teach our bigs to have flat feet. We kind of tell them to have 1 foot up,
right,
and the foot pointed at the basketball. So the way we identify with our guys is you should have a foot pointing to the basketball. So if you see the guys on the backside, they got a foot pointed towards the basketball. Right. They're not turned facing their guys. They got a foot that's identifying that they can see man and ball. So Sears right here got a deflection, which he's really good at doing that. Throughout the season, he's been good at that. And so we were able to get something out of that. He did a good job right there, kind of wrestling with the She-Way a little bit. But we kind of wish that he probably would have done his work a little bit early instead of just letting him face cut him going across the paint and being able to just have a look like that.
Some people are really good at this. If you see right here, he kind of disconnects his body.
Yep.
In anticipation of the pass coming in.
And that is what he's good at. Like I said, what I was saying was that he's good at getting deflections when guys try to throw inbound passes, and that's what he kind of does. He kind of breaks a little gap, breaks off a little bit, releases a little bit, and then comes right back and shoots it.
Right. So
honestly, what's crazy is he's probably one of our better. He's probably one of our leaders in steals, our 5-man. Probably, I think he's averaging like a steal and a half a game.
Love it. So on the cross coming across and body, is this something that you guys work on where he's going to disconnect and try and lightly knife the pass, shoot the gap, whatever you want to say? It's something that you work on about getting his weight off so that he can get around?
I won't necessarily say we work on that. I think Damian does that, but I think he does a good job of it. And if you can go back, I'm gonna show you something else. Is related to this handoff right here with Brooks and Washington. So right here, freeze. You see where our point guard that switched back to Washington has opened up too much. We generally want him to be hip to hip on that handoff. He did get a good job of switching up on the handoff. But you see how much space he had right there that allowed him to be able to, if he wanted to just go ahead and just go through that little handoff action right there.
Yep.
Yeah. So we normally want them to switch. He did a good job of switching up, but he opened up too much right there. as well.
Gotcha. This one is a very early clip in the game. You guys are up 6-2. It's 2.5 minutes into the game, and you guys decide to put on some full court pressure for the first time. Talk to me about, I mean, it looks like full court man to me and a hard trap as soon as the ball comes in. They actually end up just kind of turtling and calling the timeout. And you guys don't go back to it for a couple minutes before you get back into it. What sort of is happening that you guys are deciding to throw it in here? Talk to me about like, are you pressing for a steal? Are you pressing for deflections? Are you pressing for time? Give me some of your concepts as to what you guys do in terms of instructing your guys, and maybe a little bit of advice as to how you position guys on the floor.
So we definitely press to get turnovers. I think that's why we forced 19.5 turnovers. So
Right.
we do that. And you know, we do a lot of different things, even if we get beat. So let's say a guy gets beat right here. Okay, this trap, keep going. All right, so you see how Wheeler's kind of shading out to the wing right there. Let's say if he was able to get it, we're big about trying to get back tip deflections. And we talk about it all the time. And actually we do drills on getting back tips, you know, if we do get beat.
Or like just a common person, like that's if I'm going by, you come from behind and try and tip it forward type deal, right?
Yes. And actually that's one of the things that I think we do a good job. I would say this in this instance, I know at this point right here of the season, we were not doing a lot of full court pressure stuff. Now that has kind of became our calling card. I want to say probably the next week is when we started like really getting into it. But we just kind of showed a little bit of it right here in this game. So, and then the other side of it is we also knew that we couldn't get messed up too much into it. We couldn't get too deep into it because we knew that they had those big athletic post guys, big athletic, you know, 4s and 5s that were all the way at the end. And if they did beat them, they were just going to try to throw it over the top. So we knew all the time, like anytime a ball's being driven by Kentucky, they're looking to try to throw it over the top a lot of time for a lot.
They have 5 guys in their backcourt, as opposed to teams who send 2 or 3 down the floor or put 1 in the middle and 1 down court. Do you find it easier or harder to press against a team, put pressure on a team that keeps more players in the backcourt?
It's kind of like I guess probably a two-sided deal. Like I personally do think it can work out both ways. If you got guys that are in the backcourt, then if you got 5 guys all the way up in the backcourt, then I think it allows you an opportunity to get a turnover, create steals and a turnover a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about having a guy shoot up when they got a guy all the way at the other end.
Right.
All they have to do is just throw it over the top, which we've gotten burnt off of that because that's what happens when you press a lot. But you know, it could work out either way. I personally think in that instance, like where you can throw it, if they got 5 guys in the backcourt, then that can create things. And a lot of times, if we know a guy is shaky, because we look at all that stuff when we do scouts, like if he's a shaky ball handler, then we'll try to heat him up. So, and
yeah, for sure.
In this instance, like if the guy that has the ball, I'm not going to do any name dropping, but the guy that's currently getting the ball right now were to try to bring it up, as you can see, we're going to try to heat him up as much as we can and try to make him have to make a decision. Or we may shade a little bit like PJ is right here with Wheeler and make another guy who's not a great ball handler. I think that was maybe number 4, Collins. that was the inbounder. Try to make him be a ball handler and make him have to make a decision. So we really try to make guys that are not good at making decisions make decisions a lot of times when we pick up.
What I find interesting, and I see this often, is a lot of the time teams will either inbound with a big or with a non-ball handler. And I'm like, okay, but if I'm going to aggressively trap the first time and you're going to reverse back to that non-ball handler, that's to my advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And like in our press offense, our 3-man takes it out.
Right.
So we have our 3. So obviously you want to have, we're fortunate. A lot of times we play 2-point guards, so we normally don't have an issue with that.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. And so, we knew Kentucky did that. Like I said, when we go over a scout, we literally go over everything. So we actually go over the alignment of like what a team does when they try to break a press. So
Gotcha.
like, I mean, obviously you're not going to know everything because it's a press offense, and you just don't know necessarily what every guy's going to do, but you just try to have the alignment that they have when they do go over something. When they do a press offense.
Here's an easy one. I ask this every week. So basically for anybody listening, they come down. It's like a fill behind action to the trail, and we shoot the open 3 in transition. Transition 3s, coach, for you, yay, nay?
Yay.
Yay. And if yes, can anybody shoot them, or are there things?
No, not anybody. But at that time, I want to say Lions probably had hit a couple of shots early on in the game right there. And probably at that point, he might have been shooting about 40% from the 3.
Right.
And a lot of times, that's kind of like our little nail action that we'll do right there. He could have pitched. He honestly could have drove it, but seeing that he had an open look like that, he went ahead and tried to shoot. Went ahead and shot the basketball. So but a lot of times when we do that action right there, where it's that pitch right there, we look for that guy that's coming off of that pitch to just turn and go downhill.
Right.
He's a left-handed guy, so we were kind of hoping that it was going to allow him to go strong hand side, going downhill, going to his left. But he went ahead and shot the shot, which we didn't think was a bad shot. Like I said, the guy wasn't out there. It wasn't any kind of closeout. I don't know what happened on their end. It looked like they just kind of they kind of lost communication of who had who on their end. So that shot for us is not a bad shot.
Like it. This one's a tough clip. Basically, it's there's a shot from the offensive right wing. It gets missed. There's an offensive rebound. It's pitched back out, swung from corner to wing to the opposite slot, all the way to the other side. So long contest, another missed shot, another offensive rebound, and a putback. So my notes are, what do you tell your guys about defending good ball movement, and how do you coach preventing the offensive rebound?
I didn't hear that last part. I'm sorry, Mel.
No, you're okay. Sorry. How do you coach preventing the offensive rebound, especially to a long athletic team such as them?
Yeah. So we go over scramble. A lot of times we do a good job. Our 5-man at that point kind of gets glued into the hole right there. He should have been shading because he didn't have anybody in that position. So right there, he should have been going over a little bit. I know he got caught, but it looks more like he didn't know who he had. So we go over scramble every day. So he should have already been out there, ready to contest that shot right there.
So in games on a possession like this, where they're getting multiple offensive rebounds, is there any coaching point that you can offer your guys, or do they just have to be better, basically?
Yeah, they just have to be better. Now, the one thing I will say, if you can look, a lot of times, and what happened right here was we made such a principle of early on in the game. I mean, early on, in the scout, of double team and tag teaming as much as we could the big man inside, because obviously he's at that point he was getting 8 offensive rebounds a game. So like Tshiebwe, we were just saying, yo, just find him and just drive him out. So at that time, as you can see, our point guard has him.
Right.
So he's driving him. He's trying his best to drive him.
Right.
Well, 35 comes in and he helps out a little bit right there. But what shouldn't have happened was Zero should have, Williams that we had, should have been trying to drive for Collins out of there.
Right.
And Collins just came down full steam and got an offensive rebound. And we knew he was a guy that was a very good offensive rebounder as well. So we really wanted to try our hardest in that instance to keep those guys off the glass. I'm looking at it on what they had on the floor. They had Toppin, Collins, and Tshiebwe. So we knew all 3 of those guys were very aggressive offensive rebounders.
For sure. Next one is defending the mid pick and roll with the switch is my note. So there's a handoff to the offensive left side. You guys are on defense. It's basically a weave to ball screen type action. I see this a lot with youth. I hate this set because some guys just don't switch up the floor as you described. Basically what ends up happening is you end up with a mid ball screen that gets switched, rolling on the single side. It's a mismatch on the switch. They drive the ball back and enter it, and you guys are coming over. They end up getting a dunk out of it because the tag is a little bit late. Talk to me about how, in an ideal world, how would you guard this differently, if at all?
So the weave part is what is right, what we did.
Right.
We knew that was coming on this, so we switched up. That was a good job.
Yep.
All right. He cleared out with him. This is where things broke down. So our big should have been switching up right here. This is not what we do right here. So he honestly should have been switching up, meeting Wheeler. Okay. Because one, you go back, he's going strong side where he wants to go. He's left-handed. He is a player when he's going left.
Okay.
And he's very good at going downhill left. And we knew that. So it's no excuse why our big did not switch up and meet him on that ball screen right there.
Okay.
So that should not have happened. Now, he gave him enough gap because we also know Wheeler is not the greatest shooter coming off of a ball screen. We kind of knew that, and he did hit a couple shots in this game, as I remember. But we knew we needed to meet him up. Now, fortunately, the guy that did switch up on him is pretty solid as far as being a 5-man that can move his feet. He's slim. And, he's got good feet and good instincts, so he's able to kind of move his feet a little bit with Wheeler. But this is kind of where we got worried about and concerned about, was that now Tshiebwe is rolling to the basket, and now our point guard, that's 6'1", has to try to do all he can to just kind of fight him. So if you see in the left corner, I'm trying to see who it was right there. Whitley, 22 for us, should have been on that backside right there. He was late.
So how early do you want him coming?
How early?
Yeah. What? So
he should have been over probably a couple steps earlier. There's a lot of things I'm seeing in this play right here. Ewing should have probably had more active hands as he sees Wheeler, driving it, to try to create a little bit more pressure on him to now allow him to be able to throw that dart into
right.
Tshiebwe. So we did a good job on the strong side. Like I said, we always try to dig at the basketball. So the kid that's over here on the right wing, Grady, yep, the guy that's guarding him, Lyons, did a good job of stopping Wheeler from getting his momentum where he's able to drive the basketball. So we always we want guys to kind of dig at guys when they know that they're drivers and kind of force. He probably dug a little too much just because of the guy that he's guarding could really knock down shots. Grady, number 31.
Right.
But he did do a good job of stopping the basketball and then locating this guy.
It's amazing that you say it, because it was going to be my next question. The player that I've circled, I'm imagining it's scout specific based upon who has the ball and who they're guarding as to how much big. What's sort of like your typical principle? Like, do you want him 1 foot in the lane line? Do you want him covering the elbow? What is your positioning on that new strong side help defender there?
Yeah, so we don't we tell guys to be up the line. We're a little bit of a pack line type team defensively. We kind of try to pack it in and make you kind of have to do different things. So we're not a denial team or anything of that nature defensively. So we don't like say, hey, you got to have 1 foot in the lane and be able to stop them. We just kind of more so are like, we're going to pack it in and we're going to kind of dare you to either try to get through if you're that guard and try to see if you can drive it. And a lot of times our guys are there so that we're able to get our hands on basketballs. In this instance, he probably dug maybe a little too much, like I said, because of the guy that he was guarding. That's kind of the way we normally like to do it. But in that instance, Grady is, I mean, he's a 2,000 point scorer, and I think probably one of the best shooters to come from Davidson, not named Curry. So,
right.
So we told him he would have to make an adjustment on that. So,
Like it. Coach Mack had thrown in the chat. I missed it, Mac. I'm sorry. Basically, he's asking, what's your formula for causing turnovers? I know Coach Pricey kind of talked a little bit about back tipping, aggressive pressure, and causing deflections. Mac, I don't know if that had answered your question or if you wanted a little bit more, but Coach Price, what's your formula for causing deflections?
Like I said, we do pressure up, and that kind of explained it a little bit right there. We do the pack line, so it's almost kind of like, I wish you would, like, if you're gonna drive it, we got a guy sitting right there waiting for you. If you try to drive it, you either gonna have the ability where you can get through two guys and be able to split something when that guy is coming off helping, or you're not. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing is, when we do pick up full court, we really try our best to create turnovers out of our full court pressure. If we do happen to get beat with like an initial pass that gets you through it, like I said, we try to do back tips. So Coach Mack has been to one of our games. He's kind of seen how our full court pressure does work a little bit in a game situation. So that's really
it worked a lot of bit. It worked a lot of bit that game I was
at.
Yeah, a lot of it, and they're winning. I'm telling you, they're winning. I got 4 more clips, Coach Price.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, good. This one it starts as a baseline out of bounds where they don't really get anything out of it. They back it up and they move into a horn set. They roll the side that they're coming off of. That roll comes down a double side, and it ends up with just like a wide open dunk out of it. Talk to me, about this scenario, how you would play it different, what you see out of it, and how much just like length and athleticism play a factor on your low tag here.
Well, I think I brought this up maybe a little bit earlier in one of the earlier clips. One of the things that Kentucky is kind of like predicated on is driving, which Wheeler right here didn't really just drive, but they try to throw over the top as much as they possibly can. So right. We kind of knew that. It's a couple of instances. So you know how we talk about personnel and switching. We didn't in this situation right here, because this is our little small guard right here, Brooks, that's guarding the ball. He's listed 5'9". That's being nice. He's probably about 5'7". We did not want him to switch in this horns look where he would get caught with one of the bigs. So with like a Collins or with a Collins or a Tashibwe, we didn't want him to get caught in that situation. Probably
Right.
more so Tashibwe. But so we kind of adjusted right there with that horns look with him because we didn't want him to get put in that situation. All our other guards are kind of, they're 6'1", and kind of can, fight and do that kind of stuff. Now, what happened was, it was a couple different things. Our big got caught. Our big that's guarding the screener kind of got caught on it, where he had to help a little bit because Brooks got stopped a little bit. If you keep going just a little bit, he should have been recovering at that point and getting back. But now on the backside, the guy on the backside should have already been in the midline. Yep, he should have already been right there waiting for it. And instead, he's sitting there hugging a guy, and I don't even know who he's guarding right there, but I don't think he was one of those guys where we say you got to be attached and be glued to, and be worried about as a shooter. So
are you typically a team that tags, and do you usually only tag from the low man?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's normally a low man that's normally going to do that. So he should have already been there. He got caught just watching, and he should have been already right there, ready to jam it.
And
it's kind of hard though, man. The kid's 6'10", and he's got high level athleticism like that. It's kind of hard to do that as well. So
yeah, I mean,
he should have been there.
A victim at that point if he tags early, right? He might just be
yeah. So Collins is an elite athlete. So like I said, we talked about it. Anytime that they can get some momentum where they're driving it or putting the ball down, one of their guards, they're going to look to try to throw it over the top to those bigs.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about getting over the screen with this particular guard, the one that you said is listed at 5'9", et cetera. What are some of your teaching points for being able to get over? Because to me, kind of looks like he gets draped on this screen a little bit and could have done a better job. So what would you say to him, give him feedback-wise in terms of getting over it?
Well, he knew it was coming because we talked about it. We said horn. So, yeah, he got stuck on it. A lot of times we tell him they just got to fight over it. And to be honest with you, he's like one of the few guys. So the pairing of the guys that are guarding this was not necessarily the best pairing for us.
Right. Okay.
To be in a ball screen situation, if that makes sense. Like we had our big that probably isn't the best at being put in that kind of situation, and then we had a point guard who is small. So that they wanted that one and they got us. But our main thing with teaching them is like you just got to be able to fight through. You got to step over. You got to step over. So like you said, he got hung on the screen and wasn't able to get over it, and that's ultimately what created the whole scenario with them getting this basket right here.
Gotcha. This is one that I found as an intriguing set. So you guys rebound the ball, you get down the floor. First, you're playing a little 4-on-4, but then we get into something that's actually play. So the ball is brought back up to the point, and I got to be honest with you, Ryan. I've never seen a set play like this before. It's almost like a 1-3-1 start with Iverson over under, but there's only one screener at the nail area. We then enter the ball to that screener, and again, we look like 1-3-1 formation. There's a cut off of the ball. At the same time, there's the two wings interchange. And then we come up the gut and get the ball off of the handoff with the same person who made the almost like UCLA cut, I guess, even though it's for the wing. Now we get out and we pass the ball to the corner and shoot the shot. But the orientation and let me set it in here. The orientation and the action itself is really unique to me. Talk to me about this set. Talk to me about options. Did you run it effectively? I might steal this. I'm just being perfectly honest here.
So this was a ATO. This is not one of our actual actions right here. So this
Right.
was something that coach came up with, during a timeout. So we really honestly, when we set it, we were actually looking for the guy to come off of this. So boom, right there.
Right.
That was our first look, was right there. And the guy that was going to come off of that little pitch handoff kind of pitch action is really good going downhill, going right. So we really were looking for that. The two guys surrounding him on the wings are probably two of our better shooters. But we knew if he didn't get anything coming off that initial pitch, then he was going to come back for a handoff, which happened.
Mm-hmm.
And what he should have been looking for, but they were there. We couldn't get it. Probably in conference we could probably get it because they don't have guys that's just sitting like that, is throwing it over to the top to the guy that handed it off to him. So a lot of times the guy that did that is probably one of our better athletes. So
right.
So a lot of times we'll look to try to throw it over the top. So luckily they had, or unluckily for us, but luckily for them, they had a guy sitting right there in the paint waiting on him to come off. So like I said, this is not one of our actions. And once he came off of that handoff, the point guard, he was going to be looking for one of our shooters. Now, I personally thought he probably could have kept going and probably driving it.
Get all the way to his right hand.
But that guy helped off. That guy helped right there, knowing that he was one of our better drivers going downhill, and allowed, I thought, a good opportunity for one of our better shooters to get a shot. He just needed to convert on it.
See, if I'm running this, because I'm going to steal this, I'm just letting you know. I like it. It's a unique action for sure. When he comes off of this handoff right here,
yep,
this gentleman right now is going underneath.
Yep.
So I would immediately twist this so that I'm getting 5 crossing over going to his left hand.
Yep.
And I'm getting the gentleman who had set given the handoff rolling on the single side. Like you said, really good shooter up here, giving this guy a whole bunch of problems. Does he take that tag and give up the 3, or does he stay hugging and then we throw it over top, like you said, for that?
That's a good question. Like that's probably something that probably could have happened or should have happened, was him just screening and rescreening. Now the one thing I will say, the guy that was rolling, that handed the ball off, is better at going that side, going to his left to catch a lob or throw it over the top.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily the look we were looking for. I think we were more looking for the point guard to catch it off the handoff and go downhill and try to attack, because at that time he was doing it really well in that game. And then if you did help, then he could just pitch it right there to the shooter, which he did. And his shooter for us at that point could make that shot.
Yeah, I like the action. There's a lot of options in there for sure. Absolutely see what you're saying. I actually think he should have kept it too, even though they helped. Just a little throw ahead dribble, get it, go to your right hand. Maybe you hit the drift if you don't have it. Yeah, like the action though, Coach. I'm stealing that one, I think. This is a baseline out of bounds for you guys. You enter strong side, you reverse it, you set a wedge screen, don't really get anything out of it. So now we're into what I would assume is play after the play stuff. So my question is, what are you guys doing play after the play? What are you guys looking for late shot clock? How are you instructing your guys to, get a good one? And then obviously they use a little bit of snake dribble here. Do you teach the snake, and how effective do you think it was here?
Yeah, we teach it. And the guard that did it, that's probably one of the things he likes to do a lot is utilize that. So Sadler. Right here, we were in a situation where we were just like, we're going to spread it out and just get a little high ball screen action. And like I said, Sadler had done a good job, especially early on in the game, and just getting in the paint and being able to do a bunch of different things and attack it. Honestly, I thought if you go back a little bit right there, he did a good job. You can go ahead. You can go ahead. Probably, honestly, the hit was probably the guy at the top more than anything.
Yeah,
I think he had his mindset on hitting the guy that's kind of like mid corner a little bit, but I thought the guy he probably should have hit was the guy that number 0 Williams, who again is one of our better shooters. So I thought that should have happened. Obviously, he did end up getting a basketball and shooting it, but I'm just looking at it in the perspective of being a former guard, that he probably could have just pitched back and had a throwback to Williams coming off a little bit, because Washington got caught at that point, ball watching and not seeing where Williams actually was. So, but we got some out of it. We were able to convert it and score out of it. So,
Question for you. On the spray out pass, regardless of who it goes to, do you guys have any sort of viewpoint on the bounce pass being used? Because both these gentlemen throw the bounce pass, and I sort of understand it. Like, I guess he's kind of a long defender, you want to put it under his hand type deal. But there's a lot of coaches up here in Canada that are really anti the bounce pass for the spray out. Do you guys have any rules or suggestions there as to what happens with it, or are you okay with it?
we're okay with it. Like, it wasn't an issue for us at all. Like, we don't have an issue with throwing that pass at all.
Good.
So in this instance, might have been probably the better look, like you said, because they had some length right there. And if he were able to throw that ball, the first one, when Sadler threw it, Toppin probably could have gotten his hands on it, to be honest with you. So now the second one, honestly, I thought if you go back right there, he probably could have just threw the chest pass. But I mean, he got it there. For us, that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters. He got it there. He got a shot. Now, the one thing he probably could have done, we probably would have asked him, because of the way Toppin closed out, is just to drive baseline and shoot and try to maybe shoot a pull up right there. So.
Gotcha. Last one. This is a defending clip. There's some ball pressure in the backcourt. You guys play defense for like 29 seconds here. Okay. So talk to me about what you see and how to keep guys focused the whole way through. So the ball's up top, we hand it off.
Fortunate. Yep.
Sort of turns into like a diamond type action.
Yep.
We got turnouts. We're popping again, nothing out of it. We get over the mid ball screen. They run a zipper cut, still nothing out of it. Now it turns into a horns look, which there's the one clip I pulled before, and I think one other time where they kind of ended up open on that. They're looking for it again, but you play it much better this time. And he shoots a long two. It's contested, and I would say that's basically like a perfect possession. He took them down to 0, and then they just kind of get the offensive rebound. So talk to me about playing defense for that long. How do you keep your guys motivated? What are you saying to them to prevent them from becoming demotivated? And overall, are you pleased with the defense that you play on this, despite the fact that you don't close the possession?
So our guys, at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, our guys love guarding. So it wasn't an issue at all with them having to guard that long. Now, as you can see, we didn't switch that pin down, which is fine, or that little screen right there. He just got through it. But we also tell our guys, if you're going to do that, just make sure you talk and communicate.
Right.
Now, in this instance, as you can see, they went horns. Okay. And we had a couple of issues with ball screens with the young man that was guy that was screening the screener. In that first instance, we had a little issue with him. So we kind of, the point guard, I think at that time, just said, you know what, I'm just gonna get through it. right there.
Yep.
So he just told me, hey, I'm gonna get through. I'll get through. So he got through. Keep going. All right. When they get back to this horns look again, we guarded it the way that we worked on guarding it. More so. And that time I thought the kid stepped up, he switched up on in that instance.
Right.
Did a good job, was right there. Good contest of the shot. It's just hard, man, when you got a guy that's averaging 16 rebounds a game coming down the pipe. You've done as much as you possibly can. And it's the last couple minutes of the game. So I think our guys just kind of had worn out at that point, but did a good job. Now, the one thing I would say is in this instance, number 0 on the backside actually did a good job of being right there on the backside. Yep, right there on the backside. Yep, because this guy had already raised all the way up. So he did a good job of being right there. But I almost say in that instance, I know it sounds crazy, he probably should have went ahead and just tried to smash the Shebway. That way we kind of sandwiched him a little bit.
Right.
That way he couldn't be able to just go and get that offensive rebound. So we always try to talk about when we switch and do your work early, guards, so you can get into the inside of him. Work and prepare yourself to get in the inside of him, where you can get that rebound. So he tried his hardest right there, but man, Sheba is a big old guy, man. It's hard to just push him around and get her do your work early with that one. So he was able to get that offensive rebound, and honestly, we were right there, and we thought if we could get that stop, maybe we can possibly have a shot at this thing still. But he got a big offensive rebound at the time when they needed one, and they were able to capitalize on it.
Well, I mean, as an outsider looking in, my hat goes off to you because you guys were very much in this game. It was under 4 minutes, and it was a 8 or 7 point game at that point.
Yeah, I think it was 7. Yep.
Yeah, and it spread a little bit in the last minute, as games tend to. But I mean, to play Kentucky in the preseason and keep it like right there, and quite frankly be leading for a large percentage of the first half, my hat goes off. Good job with your scouts. You're you guys are punching up in weight a little bit, but you absolutely handled and did the way that you had to. We got, I think, one question in here. How much you detail defense and pressure, how much do you focus on your transition, on scoring on those turnovers? Is there a scheme to guys getting out and running into transition to get the offensive possession before the defense sets up? So I think basically, like, you're doing a great job turning the ball over. Do you then, try to turn that into everything, or are you just letting them play?
Yeah. So luckily, with the turnovers we create, I won't say all of them, but a few of them, probably half of them are encountered like in the backcourt. So
Right.
A lot of times when you get in the backcourt, now it comes down to shooting. Now you just got to be able to finish. But now we have a lot of focus on. We do focus tremendously about transition offense and getting out and running. So, like I said, we have transition defensive drills, breakdown drills. We have transition offense breakdown drills, and so our wings are programmed to run the wing hard. And we got 2-point guards that are really good in the open floor setting. So we do talk a lot about being able to execute on the transition side, on the offensive side of transition, just as much as we do on the defensive side as well.
Yeah, Mac wants to come to a practice and see the back tap drills. He's putting that in the chat there. So I'll leave that to you guys to connect and get that done for sure. But Coach, I got nothing more. Thank you for taking, you're in season. You got a game coming up this week. I can't even express how much it means to me that you would come spend an hour and a half, talk some hoops with me. I really appreciate this. And I thank the coaches that jump on, and I thank the people that listen. Hope you continue to find value. But Coach RP, as a personal aside, I've appreciated being able to listen, learn from you over the past year and a half, 2 years. It means a lot to me that you would sit down. So thank you.
No problem, man. Look, I appreciate you, man. Like I said, man, your time is coming, man. You've done a great job. And, you know, I used to be a Zoom guy myself early in the pandemic, and the job that you're doing with running back has been tremendous. I wish I could honestly be on there more, but you know, when we're in season, we're in season. I get it. Coaches got a lot of stuff going during this time of year. So, but I
Sure.
just want to say thank you, man, for having me and for allowing me to be on. And again, like I said, you're doing a good job, a great job, not just a good job, but a great job. You know, with this.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Means a lot coming from you. I will shut it down there, everybody. RP, stay on for a little bit if you got a few minutes.
Okay.
And we'll catch up with you next week in episode number 91. Appreciate, guys. Thank you.